it's very interesting to see that since the 1940s, nothing had been found. I mean, in 1940, the Allies found a lot of treasures, be it gold, be it art, whatever you want, name it. But after that time, nothing had been found. And even after the German reunification, when hundreds of new treasure hunters searched in the tunnels of the former GDR, nothing was found bigger than the rusty.
The legend of the Nazi gold train has captivated many with tales of buried treasure and secret tunnels in Lower Silesia. This rumored locomotive, filled with gold, art, jewels, and weaponry, was hidden during the German retreat in 1945 to avoid Soviet capture. For years, treasure hunters sought its whereabouts until a dying man's confession in 2015 directed investigators to a railway near Wałbrzych. Today, we'll look into the clues revealed in alleged deathbed confessions and the exhilarating quest for the long-lost Nazi gold train. Buried secrets and a dying man's revelation.
Rumours start sort of, did you see that train? What train? Oh, that armoured train. Oh, so, and it grows like Topsy. It sort of gets bigger and bigger and bigger and larger and more valuable. And of course, then there's the sort of, well, there are tunnels in there and you can't get to them anymore. They blew the entrances up. So, well, do you think that any of those trains are still, well, they could be.
In the final moments of his life, an unnamed man shared a secret he had kept for over 70 years. According to Polish Deputy Culture Minister Piotr Żukowski, the dying individual claimed to have been part of the operation to hide a Nazi train during the chaos of World War II's closing days. Acting on this confession, investigators launched a survey of a stretch of railway near Wałbrzych, a town situated in Poland's southwest and steeped in wartime history. Żukowski later told reporters that ground-penetrating radar had detected what appeared to be an armored train hidden underground, spanning more than 100 meters in length. The images, he said, suggested the presence of a platform and possibly cannons, a configuration consistent with an armed transport train. His declaration set off a media storm. He expressed a confidence level of more than 99% that the train was real, referring to the find as exceptional and placing it on par with discovering the Titanic. His announcement added a sense of gravity to a legend that until then had largely been considered folklore. This wasn't just a tale of gold-laden trains anymore, it had become a potentially verifiable historical mystery backed by modern evidence. The supposed Nazi gold train was said to have originated in Breslau, now modern-day Wrocław, and traveled southwest as German forces tried to flee the advancing Red Army. Local legend held that the train had been driven into a hillside tunnel near a medieval castle, possibly as part of Project Riese, a vast and incomplete Nazi underground complex. As air raids intensified and Soviet forces drew near, the train and all its precious cargo simply vanished. The idea of hidden Nazi treasure had captivated imaginations for decades, but until the confession surfaced, no one had been able to provide concrete leads. After the war during Poland's communist era, the military conducted multiple failed searches for the mythical train. The new tip, backed by apparent radar confirmation, was the most promising development in decades, and it came from someone who claimed first-hand involvement in the train's disappearance. The men behind the discovery. The revival of interest in the Nazi gold train wasn't just sparked by a deathbed confession. Two modern treasure hunters, Piotr Koper of Poland and Andreas Richter of Germany, played a pivotal role. These two men were co-owners of a mine exploration company and had conducted private research in the Wałbrzych region for years. They claimed to have used ground-penetrating radar to identify a hidden anomaly near the 65th kilometer mark on the Wrocław-Wałbrzych railway line. Acting through lawyers, Koper and Richter contacted Polish authorities in 2015, claiming to have located an armored train potentially filled with valuable cargo. In line with Polish law, they requested a 10% finder's fee in exchange for disclosing the train's location. Once word of their claim leaked, it triggered a frenzy in local and international media. Shortly after, both men appeared publicly on Polish television to confirm their involvement. They asserted that their evidence was not speculative but based on, quote, irrefutable proof, including radar imagery and eyewitness testimony. Among those they consulted was Tadeusz Słowikowski, a retired miner, and the last surviving person connected to the original rumors. He had conducted his own fruitless search for the train in 2001 and confirmed that Koper and Richter had visited him prior to going public. But not everyone was convinced. Tomasz Smolars, then governor of Lower Silesia, publicly disputed the conclusiveness of the radar data. He pointed out it was impossible to definitively say whether the anomaly was man-made or natural based solely on the available documentation. Police cordoned off the area, patrolling the site to deter an influx of treasure hunters equipped with metal detectors and shovels. And the Polish military dispatched teams of explosives experts to assess potential hazards. The excavation effort and public response.
Well, the world may soon learn whether a legendary Nazi gold train actually exists. The train that search teams are looking for mysteriously vanished at the end of World War II, allegedly into a mountain tunnel. The train was supposedly loaded with golds and gems. Now search teams say that they have a lead, and now they're digging for it.
By August 2016, after months of planning and legal navigation, Koper and Richter were finally granted permission to dig. The excavation effort was a massive undertaking, involving 64 team members, including engineers, geologists, archaeologists, and even military demolition specialists. The dig was privately funded, estimated to cost around $131,000 US. It was bolstered by volunteer labor and donations from private sponsors. But just 7 days into the excavation, the dig came to a disappointing halt. The team uncovered no tunnel, no train tracks, and certainly no Nazi gold. Instead, the radar signatures initially believed to depict a train turned out to be natural ice formations within the soil. While the official results dashed the hopes of those dreaming of a historical windfall, not everyone viewed the outcome as a loss. Wałbrzych's local officials highlighted the massive publicity boost the town had received. With coverage in international media, the visibility and tourism surge was described as priceless by city spokespersons. In fact, there were even discussions of naming a roundabout after Koper and Richter in appreciation of the economic impact they had inadvertently brought to the area. Project Riese and tunnel systems of Lower Silesia.
Speculation runs rife that Project Riese was intended to be a boss-sized bunker, a fancy new HQ for the Third Reich, or an entire underground city. But it may also have been the site of a grim laboratory in which the Nazis were secretly developing anti-gravity weapons, nuclear bombs, flying saucers, and time machines.
The possibility of a Nazi train disappearing underground gained credibility from the known existence of a vast, unfinished network of tunnels in the Owl Mountains near Wałbrzych. Known as Project Riese, this ambitious and secretive endeavor was commissioned by the Nazis during World War II and consisted of several underground facilities, the purpose of which remains debated among historians. Built by forced laborers, including concentration camp prisoners, the Project Riese tunnels were originally intended to serve as military headquarters or factories protected from Allied air raids. The terrain surrounding Wałbrzych is pockmarked with abandoned shafts, caves, and tunnels, some of which stretch for kilometers underground. The area's natural and man-made formations have made it a treasure hunter's paradise and a historian's puzzle. Rumors that the train had been hidden in these tunnels gained traction as treasure seekers pointed to the feasibility of concealing large vehicles in such an environment. The proximity of the 65th kilometer site to these structures only added to the plausibility of the claim. Final attempts and the continuing legend.
357 Infantry had captured Merkers, and that was a Merker salt mine. And we went into it, and the report was later that we was under curfew from 6 at night to 7 in the morning. And so we had a patrol going through, and about 11 o'clock at night, the Jeep patrol saw a woman walking down the street real fast. We're almost running. And they stopped her and pulled her over and asked her what was her being there after their curfew. She said she was a midwife heading to deliver a baby. So they picked her up and put her in a Jeep and took her to where she's supposed to go. Well, the baby was born about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So they put her back in a Jeep and took her to her home. And when they drove into Merkers, they made a right turn into Merkers, and she made a comment in German, "That's where all the gold and silver is." So we went in and we did see the stacks of gold all piled up. And then we got back in the Jeep and we kept on fighting the war.
Although the 2016 dig ended without a breakthrough, Piotr Koper was not ready to give up. In 2017, he announced plans for a third excavation effort, this time using deeper drilling methods to reach 20 meters below the surface. Partnering with a geophysical company from Warsaw, Koper's team identified 7 underground cavities they believed could be remnants of a rail tunnel. Securing permits posed a challenge. The cost of acquiring the necessary permissions and carrying out the excavation was estimated at about $23,000. With public interest fading and sponsors harder to find, Koper pressed on, determined to explore every possible lead. In 2018, however, his partner, Andreas Richter, left the project. Though the train remained elusive, his efforts led to a different kind of historical discovery. In January 2019, while conducting renovations in an old palace in the village of Struga near Wrocław, Koper discovered a series of 16th century wall paintings hidden behind a plaster wall. While not the trove of Nazi gold he'd been chasing, the paintings were declared priceless by local heritage experts. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think they'll ever find the Nazi gold train? Let us know in the comments section below.